Welcome to the Recruiter Abroad podcast. My name's Dulta Doherty, and in this podcast series, I will be interviewing agency recruiters who have emigrated around the world. This week, I'm speaking to Alex Zoboli. He's been in recruitment now for 11 years. Alex is originally from Italy, and we discuss his journey from Italy to London, how he managed to transition from hospitality to recruitment, then meeting his wife and how that led him to leaving Blue Arrow, where he was a branch manager, and taking a step back to join Hayes in Tokyo, where he subsequently became a top performer. And then after that, he went on to join RGF, where he is currently, and he's a director there of their sales and marketing division. He's a great guy. He was a great guest. We talked about everything from culture to food to how he enjoys himself. We went through the different markets. He thinks that Japan, and Tokyo specifically, is the best place in the world to be an agency recruiter right now. The fees are 40%. And we go through lots of other things. I hope you enjoy. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you can think of anybody we should be interviewing. If you want to come on and be a guest and share your journey as an expat recruiter, I'd love to hear from you. This is the third episode. The first episode, I spoke to Gareth McGlynn about professional football and working in Australia and in New York. I spoke to Darry Everard about working in Dublin and in Perth and then back in Dublin and how that accelerated his career. We're getting lots of great feedback from the show. Please reach out if you have any questions, and I hope you enjoy this interview. Alex Zoboli, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Dualta.
Welcome to the Recruiter Abroad podcast.
Thank you.
You're the true definition of a recruiter abroad. You've lived in a few different countries. I've given everybody a brief intro into your background.
Sure.
I just wonder if you could elaborate a little bit about that and how you initially got into our wonderful industry.
Sure. I'm Italian, first of all. So grew up in Italy, and I lived there since I was 23, 24. I've always enjoyed a little bit of a party when I was there, and I felt at a certain point, the party scene was not as exciting as it used to be. And I happened to go on holiday in London, and I literally fell in love with the city. So I decided to go and live there. I didn't speak English when I went there, so I started as a kitchen porter. I built my way up, and I ended up managing a restaurant in Belgravia. But then, I sort of realized I was doing kind of a similar thing I was doing in Italy, and just by accident,
you must have enjoyed the party life in London a little bit when you moved there.
Yeah. I had, I think I had my fair share of party, I think London was a great city, and for me was just a big dream at the beginning. But then, I wanted to do something, I ended up doing recruitment basically for a boutique firm called Staff Bank, and we were recruiting temporary staff for sort of the education industry, so nursery nurses and teachers.
It's funny, isn't it? I was in the hospitality industry for, 7 or 8 years before recruitment as well. And one thing I find a lot of people stress about how tough recruitment is, but it's nothing compared to hospitality in terms of how difficult it is. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, I always work really hard, like crazy hours, and
weekends.
For me, weekends. Yeah, one of the I think reason why I've been successful so far is also this, the work ethic. I think maybe lots of people take for granted. So the hospitality industry definitely teaches you a lot in that sense.
So how did you find it? You were a young guy in London, You, I'm guessing you had broken enough English at the time. What gave you the confidence to think you could go into a sales role where you're speaking English all day long, and how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been like a good, I always enjoy selling. So, when I was working in the restaurants, I was, selling always like the most expensive wines, to customers. And the restaurant I was working with, most of our customers were bankers. So I used to sell them, uh, £1,000, bottles of wine, and so I've always felt that I enjoy doing sales. And at the beginning, it was really difficult because I think I was very good at selling face to face. It was really hard to sell on the phone, and it's a boutique firm, so I was sitting next to the owner, and
Wow.
she's a really I think
Go on, tell the truth.
She was great. She was great, but I struggled a lot. I was very close on quitting many times, but then suddenly, after literally the first year, it just clicked. So all the phone calls I made, all the cold calls, after 1 year it kind of made sense. But I realized that the industry I didn't enjoy the industry. I was talking again to nursery nurses, and it just didn't excite me. And just at that time, Blue Arrow had hunted me for a consultant position in the Hammersmith branch. And
to recruit for what exactly?
For front of house staff. So, waiters and waitresses, and, bar managers, and,
so you're still doing high volume, low margin.
Yeah, massively. Yeah. But I loved it because, I really understood the hospitality business, and I understood temp, and I was literally at the right time. I think that, again, all the sort of training and all the hard work kind of made sense. And I joined Blue Arrow, and, I think very quickly, I was very lucky that I had also a great manager at the time, Nigel Ingram, that I think is still there, is still running the branch.
Shout out to Nigel.
Yeah. And, I think...
what made him a good manager?
I don't know. I think, I learn a lot, not from, just, about people. I think, the clients, the way you interact with clients. And it was just inspiring. Maybe also at the same time, I was looking a little bit more for kind of a father figure, in London, and maybe a direction in my life. And
to keep you out of the pub, yeah?
Yeah. Also in the pub,
Also in the pub, yeah.
Yeah.
I can use a lot of direction in the pub as well.
No, we just had a great time, and it was me, him, another guy, Jamie, and we sort of took over a branch that was really underperforming, and we just made it happen in a couple of years. They really liked, Blue Arrow really liked us, and they gave us the opportunity to move to manage the main office in the city. So for Nigel to run, multiple division, and for myself to run the main front of house division in London. So it was a great experience, and very quickly I went from consultant to managing a team. So it was a fantastic experience. Very hard, but like really good at the same time.
And then what was next?
Then I've always been, I think, pretty ambitious. So I felt that with Blue Arrow I was kind of peaking. Already. I was already managing a team. Basically, I knew that for me to progress further, it would have taken me lots of time, and also I was a bit tired also about the hospitality industry. I wanted to do something else, maybe with the recruitment. I just didn't know what. And at the same time, it happened that I met my wife, is a Japanese lady.
Party's over.
Yeah, exactly. So I kind of we got married very quickly. We met, and in a year we got married, and after we got married, I started thinking about having a family, of course, and None of us was from London. And I just thought I had lots of mates that moved in Singapore, Hong Kong, throughout their recruitment firms. So we just talked and said, okay, maybe we explore Asia. And everyone was saying that, there was more money in Asia than in London. So I just started to connect with all the, sort of main, global recruitment firms. So Hayes, Robert Waters, Michael Page, S3, and so on. And throughout the process, I also contact directly, all the managing directors in Japan. And I didn't know, but I realized that I was a very sort of in-demand type of candidate, because in Japan, there are not many people with recruitment experience in London. And I think London is the most difficult recruitment market in the world. So they clearly...
So you got to a point in your career where you thought, I need to move I need to be recruiting further up the food chain in terms of people's roles and how much they make in order to accelerate your own career. And I need to get to a market where maybe there's less competition and my skills are a bit more valued. Was that your thought process?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. So you went to Japan. Were you able to get a visa through your wife? Did the company sponsor you? How did that work?
We did it through my wife. It could have been sort of either way, but I don't know, because we got married, we just did it through a spouse visa.
And later, I'm going to talk to you just a little bit more about your current company, but just that we're on to the visa stuff. It's pretty easy to get sponsored in Japan for UK recruiters. Is that correct?
Yeah, really, really easy. We're hiring. We hired several people from overseas, and even with no recruitment experience. So,
do they need a degree or a certain level of education?
Not really, to be honest.
So it's a unique place in the world to be able to get that. And
I think you get it through a humanitarian visa. I think if you have enough working experience, and I think you can also qualify if you don't have a college degree.
And is it fair to say that that's a reflection on the demand in the marketplace there?
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
When my business has changed a lot in the last year, before we used to do lots in Australia, and it was really easy to get sponsored, and we even got a living away from home allowance to be there. But this year it's completely changed around, and it's just down to demand. The government's decided, look, we don't need as many recruiters anymore. But it's good to hear that there's a buoyant market out there for the expats.
I think Japan is a very unique situation. I think recruitment is I don't know if it's a bubble or what it is, but Japan is an aging population, and it's still like a huge economy, and recruitment market is very young. You have a company like Hayes, Robert Waters, that they only entered Japan 10, 15 years ago. So with the third, fourth, whatever economy in the world, so massive opportunities.
Yeah. So let me jump into that. So what age were you when you went to Japan?
I was, I think, 29, I think, or 30.
29. You had a good experience behind you, but you hadn't really recruited proper search orientated roles. Well,
no.
For people who maybe are making that transition, what would you say was the difficulties? What did you find as great learnings?
Well, I mean, I joined Hayes when I came to Japan. So I joined the sales and marketing team of Hayes. And
did they put you through their basic training, even though you had experience?
Yeah, I got some basic training. However, I joined and there was a change of management. So the person that hired me, in the transition period, actually went to Canada, still through Hayes. But so my manager was changed when I came, and My manager was a Japanese guy that was also coming from another firm, from Michael Page, I think he came. And yeah, at the beginning it was, the first 3 months was pretty difficult, to be honest, because I came to Japan with, to be honest, quite a big ego, because I was 29. I was already managing an office in London, and I suddenly realized that the quality of the people around me, I thought it was not great. I was expecting a lot more.
I slag off Hayes a little bit, but most of it's just for fun, to be honest. I have lots, like, having done 3 years at Walters myself. Walters, Page, Half, Hayes, the big ones. It's a culture shock to anybody who joins them. The expectations that they put on you in these firms, and the quality of the people who actually make it and stay beyond 8 to 18 months. Is usually quite good. Did you find that when you joined?
Yeah, it's the same. I thought that the management, I don't think it's Hayes, to be honest. I think is a more Japan thing, like the majority of managers and directors that they are currently working in Japan, they developed their career in a bubble market, basically. So they didn't really develop, I think, the core skills purely from a technical perspective, like selling exclusivity, how you handle counter offers, how you manage deadlines, selling retainers, like really like these kind of things. I think that because they grew up in such a good and nice environment, they were not as sharp as someone that sort of grew up from a recruitment perspective in London, I would say. And so I don't think it's necessarily, again, Hayes or Robert Waters' fault. It's just like the condition and the environment,
Yeah, and doing business in Japan, it's famous for being culturally so different. What type of things did you have to learn in order to be successful with dealing with Japanese people? And was that what you were doing? Were you focused on expats, or were you focused on actual Japanese people? How did you handle not having the language?
Yeah, in Japan, 99% of the recruitment that we do is bilingual recruitment, but it's Japanese that speak English that work for foreign firm in Japan, and it's usually mid to senior management, So we also have the odd expat, maybe more on the engineering side, and more web designer, web engineers, web developers. The market is opening up a little bit, but for my case, sales and marketing and supply chain positions, it's Japanese that speak English. I think the main challenges is really, there are lots of challenges. It's still, again, I think it's the best market in the world from a recruitment perspective. But for me, the cultural shock at the beginning was a lot on the client side. So here, the client side, the HR talent acquisition function is still very underdeveloped. Usually in a company, if
thank God,
if you have somebody that they don't know where to put it, they cannot put it in HR. So you have lots of finance people, accountant that they turn up to be HR manager, and first of all, they don't have good people skills, so they don't know how to sell the company. They can't do searches, they can't close, they're very slow, very reactive. So it's really difficult to get the client side going. Even though there is a massive demand of bilingual candidates. So here is a candidate, it's an extremely candidate-driven market. So there's very little BD.
That's the opposite of Australia, for example. And I have lots of people looking to go to Australia from Japan. And I have to really warn them, like, it's such a culture shock for you.
Yeah, if you only recruited in Japan to go to Australia, I think it would be a difficult one. So for me, it was that, and also again the way you talk to people. London, I think it was kind of, I'm not saying Wolf of Wall Street environment, but that's, it's really aggressive. You can be really confrontational with client and candidates, and in Japan you can't do that. At the beginning I burned so many bridges with clients because I would just picking up the phone and call the president of the company and tell them, I arranged 10 final interviews, why you're not hiring? HR isn't working. I send you, 10 finals, and you're not hiring my candidates. There's something wrong with you, basically. And and I think, in London you could, I could do that. You can, you
But
can have that
I suppose
conversation.
you're going from recruiting bartenders and nurses and that to doing almost executive search, sales, and marketing in a completely different environment. I can imagine.
So yeah, I upset a few people at the beginning of my career, but I think if you sort of tune in a little bit with the sophistication and the so how delicate and Japanese people are, then you can make a lot of money. In my first year, I don't remember exact how much I built from Hayes, but I built probably 40-50 million Japanese yen, and I was top in the top 10 in Hayes in my first year without speaking Japanese and without any prior experience to sales and marketing and permanent recruitment in a new country. So
wow,
so it is possible.
It is. And look, a lot of that's down to your hard work, but a lot of it's down to timing and market and place and all of that. So I just want to jump into the personal side of things. So you're married to a Japanese lady. Does she have a ready-made network of people that you're able to be friends with, or you as a perennial expat, have you drifted into hanging out with expats? How does your social life go?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bit of a workaholic, to be honest. So I came here without friends. I never been to Japan before starting working in Japan. So I came here, and after a week I started working. So and my wife has been away from, before we came here, she was away from Japan for 10 years. So she kind of lost touch with, of course, her friends and so on.
And you communicate with each other in English, I take it?
Yeah. I speak zero Japanese.
Still. Yeah. I lived in Belgium for 7 years. I don't speak French or Dutch.
So it's, no, I don't have any plan to learn, to be honest.
Yeah. Too busy closing deals, right?
Yeah. For me, I mean, I always, I'm my mates are in the office, realistically speaking. I'm very passionate about my team, and I hire people that they are sort of like-minded. I tend to hire, so I go out a lot with my team, and we're pretty. I mean, I'm still, I think, like old school type of recruiter. Work hard, play hard, and
you can still play hard with a little baby.
Yeah. I mean, of course,
you're gonna have to teach me how to do that.
I manage, expectation. But no, I mean, again, for me, I'm very lucky because we have, my wife is from Tokyo, and we live very close to her family, and we can have sort of like a babysitter whenever we want, so we can go out and leave my son.
I've moved back to my wife's hometown as well, and her mom's a godsend. Like it's a game changer, really.
But yeah, usually I hang around with with my teammates.
Yeah, I work independently. I've got a couple of people who work for me remotely, but I miss that office banter and recruitment. And it's a great thing when you're in an expat team. Because they almost become your family. They can't go home to their family at the weekend. They all work all the time, so everything is centered around your work and that. And it was one of the highlights, actually, and it's a great way to form strong, long-lasting friendships, I find. Did you find the same thing?
Yeah, for me it's the same. I mean, I'm for me, like, Saturday and Sunday, I like to spend time with my wife and my son. So I don't have any particular hobby apart from drinking. To be honest with you. So,
what do you drink?
I drink everything. But Japan, we have they have some lovely craft beers over here, and I'm Italian, so I love wines. So. But yeah, that's I think just
and being Italian, I take it you love your food too. Have you missed your Italian food? How do you, like? It must be expensive to buy European-based products there. I find that when I was living overseas in places.
Yeah, I mean the restaurant scene in Japan is amazing, you know. So you know you have I think it's more affordable than London. You know, I think in London to eat well you have to spend more money. In Japan you can eat really well cheaper, I think. And I mean I think people maybe think about Japan as all right, there's Japanese food, but you know Tokyo is absolutely massive. So you get literally all sort of they have some really good Italian restaurants, French restaurants, Spanish restaurants, always with a little bit of a Japanese twist, but like really good. Plus you got of course all the you know Asian country type of
you're making me hungry now. Let's get back into recruitment.
Yeah.
So let talk to me a little bit about the Japanese market at the moment. What sectors are hot, and where do you see the market going there?
So I think at the moment it's all hot. Just to give an idea, we charge 40% on candidates' annual salary to our clients.
Wow, that is incredible. I think I'll be doing a bit of rec-to-rec work over there.
And you know, of course, we don't charge all clients 40%, but the minimum we will accept is 30%. You know, on total really. So, and it's really candidate driven market. So the market is good. It's good across all sector. Of course, it's becoming more and more competitive. You know, there are more, of course, the big firms, you know, Robert Waters, Hayes, Page, they have 150, 200 people type of office. We are becoming, I think, one of the big players as well. And then you have lots of boutiques. So lots of people that have worked for this company now, they start to go and they start to go independently and run their own shop. So the market is still, I mean, it's becoming more competitive, but I think it's way better than, again, maybe, you know, America or Australia or Europe.
Fantastic. Okay, last question I have. What advice would you give to like an agency recruiter who's interested in moving their career over to Japan? Like what type of things should they consider when they're choosing an employer? What type of money can they make? How does that look in terms of the base salary, in terms of potential any relocation that would be norm in the industry? Could you walk us through that? What it's like when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I recommend RGF. You know, I think we are the hottest in the market.
Blatant plug. You can send me your details first, though.
Seriously. Apart from it, I think the base salary are higher than London. You know,
ballpark. What are we talking in terms of consultant, senior consultant, principal?
I think, I mean, I don't remember the conversion rate exactly right now, you know, but we hired a couple of recruiters from Ireland and UK recently. I mean, over the last 6-7 months, and we all gave them around 20% salary increase. I think just a consultant in London maybe makes 25 as a base, maybe, right?
Something like that. Yeah, it depends, but yeah, 25 to 35 really.
Here easily they can get, like, I would say 35, 40. I think it depends by which agency you go. Of course, boutique, they will pay you more on the commission and less on the base, and it depends which type of commission scheme that, you know, you go for and all this kind of stuff. But you should get definitely more base if you have experience, and commission, again, you should be earning way more because the percentage are higher in Japan.
Okay, cool. Okay, just to wrap up, and this has been really interesting, and it's really whet my appetite to move to Japan. I think I'll be having a chat with the wife, seeing if she fancies it.
It's a unique market, you know. Like, I mean, I think lots of recruiters always think about Asia as, you know, as Singapore and Hong Kong, and
they do, yeah.
Unless you have an interest in, I don't know, anime or manga, or you have a Japanese wife, you know, you don't really think about Japan. But you know, it's I think it's a unique place to live. You know, it's a unique experience. Whatever you stay here for the long term, but only even for, I think, 3 to 5 years, it's a very different type of experience. And it's a fantastic recruitment market at the moment. that I think is going to carry on for, at least for another 5-6 years,
Okay.
After the Olympics.
Now's your chance to plug RGF.
Yeah.
What do you got going on right now? What are you most excited about in terms of the desks? And tell me,
I mean,
what recruiters are you after? Like, who's an RGF type person?
I think, we like, I personally like, for me, work ethic is a big thing, so I like people that work hard. I want salespeople, we really want salespeople. In Japan, maybe, I'm getting a bit frustrated by the people I meet on a day-to-day basis, but you meet a lot of people that they want to do, I think, HR and recruitment, so you meet a lot of people that say,
breaks my heart.
I want to help people, all these kind of things. And, for us, we really want salespeople, very, I think sophisticated salespeople, because, we deal with, Fortune 500 companies, and we place the sales director, marketing directors, and so on. And overall, we, even if we are a big company, we are around 150 people now. And, we were 20 people when I joined 2 years ago. So it's massive growth. And we want people that can have a laugh in the office, like that, can have a beer and, just hang around really, as well as being professional and corporate at the same time.
All right. Alex Zoboli, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Walter. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity.
A massive thank you to Alex for taking part in the show today. What a great guy and a great story. Really enjoyed speaking to him. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well. Let me know what you thought. We're getting lots of positive feedback on the show. So please do, if you do like it, let us know on LinkedIn. Give us a like, give us a share, give us a comment. And please pass it on to other recruiters out there. Also, this week I'm about to launch our other podcast series, which will be the Recruiter Startup School. In it, we will be discussing how to start up a recruitment company from scratch, the different types of recruitment companies that you can set up, whether it's a lifestyle business or a business set to scale or a boutique. I'll be speaking to thought leaders. I'll be speaking to CEOs, operators, people who know technology within recruitment. It'll be a wide-ranging podcast, but all there to help you set up your own recruitment business. This week, I'm just about to press launch on it. We're going to be speaking to Rhys Jones, and he's the founder of Davidson Gray. They're recruitment investment company where he takes on a couple of recruiters every year or so and helps them build up their recruitment company and helps them to sell it eventually. Well, that's it for me this week, and we will see you next week.
The podcast you just heard was recorded with Anchor. If you want to make your own, download the Android or iOS app completely free from anchor.fm/podcast. That's anchor.fm/podcast.